Please welcome Scott Long, everybody. Scott Long.
Thank you. What a place, huh? What a great place to do a comedy special. I was telling a younger comic friend of mine, and he was like, why Sarasota? I'm like, why not? The audiences are great. He's like, they're all old. And I'm like, well, I like older audiences. I don't know if you realize I'm kind of older too. And if you don't know something about me, you might be 30, but I can out-hit and out-hump pretty much anybody your age, as long as it's after my nap. All right, so there's about a 3-hour window. That's where I'm good. So then I'm like telling him, I'm like, here's the great part. And take this in, guys. Appreciate that you're up front. Undivided attention is something that's possible in Sarasota at a comedy club. It's possible. You can have focus because many of your phones are on your walls in the kitchen. Right? You're not, and here's a plus to that, having the wall phone on the kitchen. You'll never butt dial anybody. I mean, even Michael Jordan during his prime could not get like up high enough to butt dial somebody. So there's that, okay? So then I was telling him more and more, and I'm like, and I look at him and I realize he heard none of it. He had his AirPods and he was looking at his phone the whole time. So it was like my son. It felt good. So what I would share with you also is, are there audiences that are too old? Yes, there are. I did an event. I do a lot of corporate events now. I did an event where the average age had to be like 88 years old. They didn't tell me ahead of time. It was some financial advisor and all his retired clients were there, and they were doing well because they were alive. That's how I felt. I felt like I was like a Sherpa guide on Everest. I was trying not to kill. I was just keep them alive, keep them focused, keep them moving. And I was having fun with the audience, and I'm talking to this one lady who was very feisty, loved her, and I'm like, asked her one question. Someone's like, hey, ask her how old she is. She's like, I'm 97. I'm like, wow. And they were like, ask her how old her boyfriend is. Okay, how old's your boyfriend? 92. I'm like, well, get down, Cougar Town. That's nice. Yeah, no one laughed there. Had no idea what I was talking about. You got to know your audience. You see, that's the thing. Like, I know this guy here. He's good. I watch it. You've been laughing the whole time. One negative, your arms have been crossed, but maybe you got tender nipples. I don't know what's happening with you. Not your fault. It's kind of a dry and chafing type of year. See, I grew up, did anyone grow up going to church? Church, yeah, all right. Did anyone go 3 times a week like I had to? Yeah. So I like church. I remember I'm like 7 or 8, and Sunday night, I reach into my dad's drawer because I wanted to grab some change to put in the plate. And all of a sudden I hear my dad go, get your butt down here, you're gonna make us late for church. So I grab everything, I put it in my pocket, we go to church, they had all the little kids sit in the front, the pastor would do like a 5-minute thing, and I'm gonna blame the pastor, not a very good lesson, kind of boring. So I'm like, how much change do I have here? So then I started pulling out stuff that I found in my dad's drawer. And I'm like, this is like a balloon. So then I started blowing it up. And I'm like, this thing's kind of slimy, this balloon, but all right. So then I'm blowing it up in church. And the elder is trying to grab it. I'm like, leave my balloon alone. And my dad, not happy. I call this bit condemnation. That's what it was. Dad was not happy. So that's my first moment I can remember from church. Then I had a younger brother, and our minister would ask us after church, hey, where are you guys going for Sunday lunch? And my brother's like 4, and he didn't maybe master everything. So he was like, oh, we're going to Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pastor. And he continued to mention that word as the Commonwealth of KY. And my dad was not happy at all. And I'm thinking, that's probably why Kentucky Fried Chicken became KFC. Little kids would screw it up. But it sounds better that way. More delicious. They could maybe split hairs and call it frickin' fried chicken or something like that. Or fuck it, get a bucket. I mean, that would be good. So I do a lot of clean shows, but this lady came to one of my club shows and she heard me say that. And she's like, I really don't like that you had to say that, using the... And I'm like, PG-13 movies have 2 F words in it. Well, I don't know. And I'm like, and both presidents, the last 2, have dropped F-bombs at their speeches. Yeah, but I'm like, so you're going to treat comedians differently? I mean, come on now. That's what I felt about it. So there's times where you got to talk that way, and sometimes you don't. I will also tell you, though, people ask me, well, do you feel nervous sometimes when you do stand-up? And I'm like, no, not really, because I use that speech thing. Did they ever tell you in speech class you're supposed to, imagine the audience naked? Right, and that worked for a while until I did a nudist resort in Minnesota. I can't wipe that away from my head. I mean, in the past, I would have, thanked you for sitting up front. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to this guy right here. I'm not a misogynistic pig. Do you have a name for the beard, by the way? Is it called the tickler? Is that what you call it? Just thinking about that. So I'm doing this nudist resort in Minnesota, and hey, if you're a nudist in Florida, congratulations. Anybody can do that in Florida. If you're a nudist in Minnesota in March, that's dedication. And then what's the question? Well, what do the people look like? Well, most of the guys did not look like, if we were naming comedians, they did not look like Matt Rife. They looked more like Bert Kreischer. And most of the women did not look like Scarlett Johansson. They looked like Bert Kreischer. That's what happened. That's just what was going on there at the nudist resort. But I liked them because, you know what? What kind of confidence does that take to just be naked in front of it? I don't have that kind of confidence. So I liked them. Well, very weird, though. Were you naked? I was not. So it was like I'm on stage with clothes and everyone else is naked. It was like the world's strangest strip club. It was just so bizarre. And I will tell you, things you notice that you didn't know before. I saw some body parts that looked like they could have been appraised on the Antique Roadshow. That's what I'm telling you. The worst episode of PBS. Oh. Here's another thing you find out, though, at the nudist resort. Some body things are underrated. Pubic hair, it's underrated there. It's covering up things you probably don't want to see at a certain point in people's lives. And I know people, pubic hair, I don't like that word. Are you better with pubes? Right? Why? Pubes is it's not a good word for what they are. It's such a sweet word, like pubes, pew, 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 pew. It's like you name your new puppy. Oh, here's my new puppy, Pubes. Let's pet the puppy right now. Little Pubes, come here. Sit on my lap. All right, all right. And then somebody's like, well, your pubes look a little shaggy. Yeah, pubes could use a trim, I'll admit that. Pew, 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 pubes. It's just silly. Talking about hair and dogs, you go to the beach. I feel like most time men are more hypocritical than women. Here's one of the hypocrisies of women, though. Women will be at the beach. Somebody will bring like a golden retriever. How many of you ladies would go over and go, oh my gosh, I have to pet that golden retriever? Right, and while you're petting it, and there's hair flying all over, you're like, oh my gosh, That guy over there has 4 back hairs. How gross is that? It doesn't seem fair. I don't know. Maybe I should move this. I don't think Durex was around then either, by the way. It wasn't actually proper. Another thing that I always like to talk about when I'm telling stories is that I have this friend named Jimmy, okay? And Jimmy moved to Florida for one reason, and I know why. Bigfoot fetish. And he was like, full year Tootsies on parade. Like if you grow up in the north and people who have shoes on, it doesn't seem fair, you foot fetish freaks from Florida. It's not fair. Then he was telling me, he's like, yeah, well, you should do that with your wife. And I'm like, no, I'm not into like that feet. If that's your thing, that's fine. But I mean, I would hump you in a pair of Crocs. I don't care. I mean, I would prefer you have feet. But if you're getting a pedicure, you're doing it for you. I don't care. So he was like, you sometime, you know, and it's like, well, we rarely ever even have sex, so I doubt this is going to happen. So I don't know. It's been a while. We're doing some foreplay, and all of a sudden I get under the covers, which my wife thought was a good idea. And then she's like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, what? What are you doing? Well, I got your toe in my mouth. Where'd you get that idea, Jimmy? I'm like, yeah. Well, take it out. Didn't work at all. Jimmy's got bad ideas. He's like, he says to me the other day, he's like, well, if you're not doing well with your lady, you gotta work on like adding things to the bedroom. I'm like, well, what would you suggest? He's like, well, me and my old lady. I'm like, well, that's not a good start. Okay. Okay, me and my old lady sometimes will choke each other a little bit. I'm like, what? I'm sorry. First off, you need a lawyer present before you throw that out. And anyway, that is not a married person's game. That is a single person's game because he's never been married. He's only had like 6-month dating things. He's like, well, why is it not a married person's thing? I'm like, because married people might never stop choking each other. It's like, I hope your safe word's Blueface because I know that's what would be, my wife would be choking me. I just, you know, I don't know. That was so good that you uncrossed your arms. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. That is the mark of good.
It's only our 3rd date.
Oh, really?
And I didn't run away.
Okay, no, honestly. I was thinking maybe this is a little odd, this dating couple here, but then I heard you talk, and I'm like, it is a good mix. Because you're like, this is our 3rd date. Hey, I think it's great. I love both of you guys. Thank you for being up front. I don't even usually talk to people up front, but I didn't really have a choice. This is maybe the weirdest show I've already ever done in my life. I don't know what's going to happen next. Have you guys been to a lot of comedy shows? No. First one, this isn't usually the way it works. I'm just going to tell you this right now. You guys look so wholesome. I mean, you look like you should be like on a billboard or something. Are you a dentist? I mean, look at these teeth. I hope they can see this. Look at this right here. Craziness. How old are you guys? 18. Are you twins? No. Friends? Okay. All right. Let me get it. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Does anybody have twins, by the way?
Yes.
Where are you at? Okay. How old are your twins? 20. Are they boy, girl, boy, boy? What? Oh, wow. Do they get along? Yes. I have 16-year-old twins. One Sam, boy, one girl, Mallory. I actually call my twins the Dallas Cowboys. Good individually, suck as a team. All right, so that joke has worked all 15 years of their lives. Going on 16, season 16. I can't make this up, right? You know, it's tough. Yeah, and it never gets better. At least they're gone, maybe, right? Are they gone or no? Almost 20. Yeah, my son, he just told me, I'm like, well, what are you thinking you want to do for a living? He's like, I'm going to be a professional gamer. Oh, great. And I'm an older dad, so I'm hearing, I guess you'll be a manager at GameStop. Is that what that means? And then his sister's like, well, I'm going to be a social media influencer. And I'm like, I better get another basement for these people to live in. Right? I mean, I like my kids. I mean, I love them. I don't really like them. I love them. Don't really like them. So you were they 17 during the pandemic? Yeah, fortunately you were in Florida where it didn't like kill all their, because some states were just horrendous. Like I was like in a nice suburb and it took a while for them to get back. I remember early on, and they've already found out that kids were the ones that were damaged the most from COVID. Do you remember that? Like you couldn't go to, did you do Zoom? Yeah, for a while, but not very long, right? See, we did it for quite a while. I think like an hour and a half and they were done with school for the day. And I don't blame teachers because they didn't go to Zoom school, but it was really making me angry because I don't want them to know I do nothing during the day. I was running out of things to do, right? So then, one day I'm like, this cannot stand. I don't know where I got that, but I have some movie or something. This cannot stand. You are gonna now start reading for an hour a day extra. What? How would that have gone over with your twins, ma'am? That would not have worked, right? I'm like, no, you're going, here, I'll meet you halfway, maybe. You can pick your book on Amazon and have it delivered. Then starting Monday, you're going to read the book for the whole week, and then you're going to tell about the whole book on Friday. I mean, I had a plan. They were not happy. I go into Sam's bedroom on Friday. I'm like, buddy, tell me about the book. He's like, yeah, I wasn't a fan of that book thing, but I'm going to tell you, I really love this book. Then he starts telling me about it, and then he's like, and it's part of a series, I'm going to get another. And I'm like, this does not happen as a parent. I have figured out some kind of cheat code. Don't get too excited, because I kind of skipped down about 5 steps into his sister's room. I'm like, how about the book? You're a hypocrite. Okay, you've been talking to your mom. Okay, explain. You don't read an hour a day, why should I? Right? Yeah, I was ready. I'm like, see, that's what you don't know about your dad. Yeah, because when you go to sleep every night, honey, I quietly come into your room and I grab your cell phone and read your text for at least... Then I just slam the mic down. Yeah, during the pandemic, did anyone remember, like, of course it was toilet paper, right? That was, you couldn't get. But do you remember the other thing? Hand sanitizer. Oh my God, I didn't even know you needed this stuff, and all of a sudden it was so vital. And you would go to some places and they couldn't get the good stuff, the other places were hoarding it. And you would hit the pump, and then, was anyone like me? You get like a sensory memory of a high school Everclear party. Did anyone remember that? You're like, if there is some Sunny D or a wine punch, I'm gonna get sick in this aisle right here. We have to laugh about things like that. I do want to tell you a little more about, how I get to this way. Like, I said, I'm like a corporate comic and I do a lot of clean shows, so it's fun to kind of go a little dirtier and stuff. And I was talking to Jimmy, who is really not a good influence on me. But I saw him because he's in Florida, and he's like, probably out on the road, you know, you're probably watching a lot of porn. And that, you see, like some of you didn't like pubic hair. I don't like the word porn. Is there a less sexy word than porn? Sounds too much like corn. Porn, it's not sexy. Porno, that's a better word, but that sounds like a clown you'd hire for your kid's party. Come on in, porno, come on. Make the kids laugh. Make some balloon animals. Grab one of those Durex. Yeah, sure. Didn't work earlier, but now it works with you guys. Too early. I think I'm aging out. I think I'm aging out of adult movies. I'm going to tell you why. I'm older than all the MILFs. That's a depressing moment. And I'm a dad, so, I watch these scenes. If I'm ever going to watch one, it all depends on where the scene happens. Like they'll do it in the shower, and I'll be like, somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, you know, it's like, I can't get turned on. I'm like, it doesn't work good that way. And it's like, you know, do it on the floor, do it on the bed, or even on a couch. And then they do it in the kitchen all the time, the kitchen. I'm like, what do they live in a model home where they can make this work? Because I'm thinking the whole time it would take my wife and I at least 15 minutes to clean off the island. Right? And then let's just say after 15 minutes of cleaning and being together that long, we would then want to still do it. But in this scenario, I would lift her up on the island, and I know her first comment, that tile's cold, you put your butt up there. Right? Okay, so let's just keep going into this fantasy world that would never happen. I'm like, okay, I'll get up there. So then we're doing it, and my eyes would be closed, and my wife's like, come on, look at me. I'm like, I can't. She's like, don't you love me anymore? I'm like, I do. I just don't want to look at our kids' Little League magnets on the fridge. Right? That old lady that was mad at me for using one F word, she probably wouldn't like that, but it's funny. It has nothing to do with being dirty. It's just life. You know, life happens. Have you ever thought about being comedians, either one of you guys? Don't. You seem like you had good parents. Good parents don't go with comedy. Or good-looking people. That shouldn't happen either. Like, I never even kissed a girl in high school, and I did a show back in my home area, and I mentioned that, and one of the guys I went to school with is like, that is so pathetic, dude. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I slept with 2 girls. And I'm like, yeah, okay, Lenny, you don't have to brag. He's like, you know, and everybody knew I was gay, and I still slept with 2 girls. I can't make that up. That hurts. But it's true. Truth hurts. Which one's your dad of the 2? Is there one of you guys have a dad here? No. They're with their mom. All right. Okay. And which one is your, right there? Did you have to give the birds and the bees talk? No? Did your dad give it to you? Or nobody? No. Well, you're from Kentucky. Look at the shirt. Come on. I said it twice. Now I'm out. We're still PG-13. Well, here's my problem. I had my twins at 42 years old. I had to give the birds and the bees talk last year at 56 years old. What am I going to say? Oh, buddy, let me try to remember. Don't put a toe in your mouth. That's a big mistake. Don't do that. Make sure she's on top. You don't want to hurt your back, you know. I'm 56. I'm like, roadhead is dangerous. He's like, why? Well, especially when you're by yourself. That's a fact. I hope we can get a video of how uncomfortable it is for mom to know about this while I'm doing the birds and the bees. I love it. It's the world's worst episode of Family Feud, but a good time. No, I love it that you bring your that's great. That's great. I always tell a story about my oldest daughter, Maddie. She's my heart. She's on the autism spectrum. She's 20 years old. I didn't come in town early last night because I flew in because she had a Special Olympics softball game, and I love that. And now there's good and bad, just like with any child. It's never like this, though, when you have a child with a disability. I will tell you that you heard me. I don't really cuss much. I really never cussed in front of my kids. And at 17 years old, we're watching TV. Maddie doesn't really watch TV much, my wife and I. And she's like, I'm going to go to bed. And she starts walking up the stairs. And I'm like, well, good night, honey. And she's like, you fuck! First time I've ever heard her cuss in my life. And she drops that one. I'm like, do you know what you're saying? She's like, no. I'm like, don't say that again. Did you learn that from your mom? Then I'm starting to name off neighbors of kids that we don't like. Did you learn it from Austin? No, I didn't. Okay, so then we're like, we couldn't figure it out. A couple nights later, we're watching TV again, and all of a sudden, Maddie, who doesn't really pay attention much, she was on her iPad, she goes, that woman shouldn't say that. And I realized that my daughter learned how to cuss from Ruth from Ozark. That is the master of all cursing. She had no choice. You just don't know. But, that's one of the things that I am very happy to share, because in life, I grew up with no empathy or no patience or anything. And then I had this girl and I learned all these different things, and I started telling stories about that and not other stuff that would probably make this table laugh harder. So, but what I would tell you is it's something that makes me feel great, and I appreciate you guys on a Tuesday night coming out, rocking the house. And last thing I want to say, I'm Scott Long. Have a great rest of the week. Bye.